Am I the a-hole for telling my father that I don't care how nice his new girlfriend is, she'll never be welcome at my home? My 33 female father, 60s, can't keep a girlfriend for long. My mom divorced him when I was a child, and since then, he's had no interest in remarrying and settling down. Today, his relationships don't tend to last much longer than a year. I'm married with 2 kids, 8 male and 4 female. Because I don't want them to get attached to a new step-grandma every few months, I laid some ground rules when my son was born. My father wasn't allowed to introduce any new girlfriends to them until 6 months into the relationship. For most of my kids' lives, we had no problems with that. Then came my father's girlfriend from 2022, who was an absolute nightmare of a person. My kids only met her once, but it was enough for me to consider her unsafe to be around my family. Though they later broke up, my father initially tried to justify her behavior. Because of that whole affair, I changed the rule. He'd have to wait a year instead of 6 months before introducing new girlfriends. If he tried to do so before that, she'd never be allowed to come to my place. He protested at first, because most of his relationships don't last that long, but I held my ground and he eventually agreed. He was with another woman for 9 months last year, and my children never met her. My father has been with his newest girlfriend for 6 months. I've never really met her, because she lives an hour away. She is, apparently, kid-obsessed, and has been asking him to meet his grandkids for a while. He's tried to convince me to make an exception for her for a few months, but I always say no and remind him of my rules. My daughter is turning 4 this week, and we threw her a birthday party yesterday. It took place at an event space our building has. My father showed up an hour late, with his new girlfriend. I approached them to ask what he was doing. He said that his girlfriend was excited to meet my kids, and he thought the birthday party would be a good place to introduce them. Because they'd been together for half a year, he didn't think it would be such a big deal. I told them the girlfriend had to leave before my kids saw her. My dad tried to give other excuses, such as the fact that my stepdad, who's been with my mom for more than 20 years, was there, and said that if she left, so would he. I told him to be my guest, and they both left. Earlier today, my father called me. He told me off for kicking them out of the party. He said my rules were too restrictive, and his girlfriend was a lovely person who deserved to meet my kids. I told him that not only do I not care how nice she is, but I'll also never welcome her at my home after the stunt he pulled. She can meet my kids after the 12-month mark, but not at my place. We fought for a while before he hung up on me. My husband and my sister, who's staying with us for a few days, witnessed most of the fight. My husband is on my side, but my sister thinks I'm being needlessly cruel to a woman I've never met. Am I the a-hole?
Your kids, your call, not the a-hole. I'm curious though, did girlfriend know your rule or did your dad put her into that situation unaware?
I think she knew. My father started asking me to let him introduce her to them 4 months into the relationship. Either he told her or he came up with excuses for 2 months.
Your dad is an a-hole? If girlfriend knew, she is too. Frankly though, he sounds like the kind of guy who wouldn't hesitate to lie to a woman and then drag her into a bad situation she didn't understand. If girlfriend didn't know, I feel bad for her. You don't own that though. Your dad does.
Not the a-hole, because your house, your rules. And I think you were perfectly right to call him out when he tried to get his way at the birthday party. That's just disrespectful. But is there another way to look at this? Can your dad just bring a friend that doesn't need to be introduced as a new grandmother right away?
I tried that a while ago. I think my son was 4 at the time, and I was pregnant. That particular girl kinda ruined it by kissing my father in front of my son.
I could see how that would be confusing for your son.
Not the a-hole. Kids are going through a lot in life, still processing the world. You're doing your best to protect them from a never-ending revolving door of grandfather's girlfriends. Stick to your boundaries.
That's always my greatest concern. I grew up with that revolving door, and it's always been clear how much it affected me and my sister. I don't want my kids to know what that lack of consistency is like. They may have married parents, but they also have a step-grandpa, a grandfather who passed away before they were even projects, my father-in-law, and a grandmother who lives in a different state, my mother-in-law.
Not the a-hole. Your dad initially agreed to your new rule but wanted to change it just because his latest chick is kid-obsessed. Then he tried to force your hand by just showing up with her. He's got some nerve. Good for you for not letting him manipulate you. He's putting the wants of his latest girlfriend above yours.
Am I the a-hole for telling my uncle his advice is unwanted and his opinion is unwelcome? I, 19 male, live with my dad since my mom cheated on him with my uncle. Still see my uncle every few weeks, but only because he lives with my grandparents and I don't want to go no contact with them. My dad agrees with this, saying I should just be stoic to the guy when I visit. Mom's no longer in the picture, having left my uncle for someone else. Haven't seen her for months now. My dad gave me a credit card last year, saying that I can use it for meals. I am also allowed to buy one new book each week. Today, I bought The Maze Runner. Then I had lunch and went to my grandparents' house, where as usual I just ignored my uncle and talked to my grandparents. My uncle usually ignores me as well, but not today. He asked me why I wasted money buying the book when I already have the movie, before saying my dad should have taught me better about money management. Then the guy also went on and said that I'm too old for the book. I said the stuff listed in the title of the post. Didn't raise my voice at him or anything, just looked him right in the eyes and said it. My grandparents told me that I didn't have to be rude to him and that he's still my elder. They said I should be polite to him for their sake, saying I should have greater self-control at my age.
Not the a-hole. Besides, the books are always better than the movies.
My cousin said he thinks the Percy Jackson movies are better than the books, though I strongly suspect it's because of one particular actress appearance.
Tell your grandparents that if their son had greater self-control at his age, maybe he wouldn't have slept with his brother's wife, and maybe he wouldn't still be living with his parents.
Ha ha, you should have greater self-control at your age. Funny that your grandparents seem okay with your, presumably much older, uncle not having even enough self-control to not cheat with his brother's wife. I congratulate you on your cool-headed and mature response.
Your grandparents suck. They obviously live to enable your loser uncle. He's also presumably an adult, living with his parents, telling you a kid that your dad who lives on his own supporting his child solely should teach you how to be better with money?
Not the a-hole. Still better than saying I don't want to hear what's right or wrong from a guy who fucked his brother's wife.
Am I the a-hole for laughing at my cousin after she had an absolute meltdown after her boss saw her buying toilet paper at Costco? Yesterday, I tagged along with my cousin on her trip to Costco. She has always been very high-strung, but for the most part we were having a nice time. As we were in the checkout line, a very pleasant man in his 50s or 60s and said hello. My cousin introduced him as the man who owns the company she works for. I sort of stood by as they had normal small talk, and he even complimented her on helping out with a huge sale even though she's not in sales, and he said that they were still working out what the bonus was going to be, but it was going to be more than they initially thought. I mean, all in all, it seemed like a great interaction to have with a boss when you see them out in public. Shortly after he left, she started almost hyperventilating, saying, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. I had no idea what she was talking about, and then she started saying, we have to leave, we have to get out of here, that was horrible. I said I had $300 worth of groceries, and I can't come to Costco, I can't leave. She actually walked away and sat down in the food court, and I was still so lost, but her leaving caused an even bigger scene because I had to go find her because they needed to scan her membership card. She was in absolute hysterics at this point, and even the cashier asked if she was okay and if they could get her some water. We paid and walked out, and she appeared to be so physically weak, I told her to lay down in the back seat and I would load everything and drive. As I was driving, I finally asked her what was going on, and she screamed at me, my boss just saw me buying toilet paper. Do you know how humiliating that is? I actually thought I misheard her, so I said, wait, this whole thing is over toilet paper? She screamed, yes, I'm probably going to get fired. I asked her if she seriously thought she was going to get fired for buying toilet paper. She said yes, that she can't let anyone at work know her private life. I told her I doubt he even noticed, and I also doubt he thinks about her bathroom habits, but he also probably assumes she shits and pisses like everyone else. Then she screamed back, your job is so easy, you couldn't possibly understand how much pressure I'm under at work, I'm going to lose it. At this point, I lost it and started laughing harder than I knew was possible. Not only was it ridiculous, but I felt like she was attacking me, and instead of going back and forth, I felt finding the humor was the way to go. She said, "You're actually laughing at me? You are such an a-hole. I do you a huge favor, and you're laughing at me?" She got to my house and dropped me off and sped off with my groceries. I called my aunt to make sure they got at least put in fridge, but my aunt said my cousin overreacted, but I'll probably need to apologize to be able to get my stuff. Am I the a-hole?
Holy shit, your cousin uses toilet paper? As in, she goes to the bathroom? Yes, she'll definitely get fired as her boss will never be able to look at her without imagining her on the toilet. So sad, but she's the only person in the entire world who produces bodily waste, and it's just too difficult to get our minds around that. Obviously, not the a-hole, as that's stupid AF, but perhaps you invited her rage by making her feel every ounce of the stupidity she deserved. She was clearly overreacting, but unless she's a known faker, those huge feelings were real, and she probably felt like she deserved to keep the shred of dignity she had left after making such a scene.
Wait until she finds out there are bathrooms at the office with toilet paper because coworkers poop there too.
Not the a-hole. Your cousin needs serious therapy to learn to manage her anxiety. She's wilding, and this is objectively hilarious. Everyone poops. Someone with GED and other anxiety disorders.
Not the a-hole. You're no doubt going to hell for this, but I am too. It's very funny. Anxiety is actually very painful. Your cousin is probably experiencing real pain, but I don't know how do you not laugh.
No a-holes here. It would have been best not to laugh at her, but she sounds like a 12-year-old girl who doesn't want boys to know she poops. She probably should see a professional, and you should work on being able to not laugh at people in situations like this, even though I think I'd probably laugh too. But she was clearly in distress and kind of made it worse. But I'm still saying not the a-hole.
Not the a-hole. Hell, I laughed, and I wasn't even there. With that said, your cousin needs therapy. I don't say that in a mean way. I say it because that is a level of anxiety that needs professional help. For her own sake. That has got to be a god-awful way to live.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories.